I've finally watched last year's Sonic the Hedgehog 2, a really enjoyable sequel to the first film. Let's talk about it. Hi, my name's Drew and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. I'm really happy to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog. It's actually among the first few review videos that I did on this channel all those years ago, well 3 years ago now. So that's really quite cool. I can't even remember exactly when the first one came out, but it was a very enjoyable film. I believe it was one of the last few films I saw in cinemas before the big pandemic hit, of course. Now, you should know that I was a huge fan of Sonic as a child. I had a Sega Game Gear and we used to play the first two Sonic games quite a lot, my brother and I. So yeah, I would say I know them rather well. I didn't keep up with the rest, so I didn't even really get to see Knuckles in the games, etc. Slight spoiler if you haven't seen a trailer for this film, Knuckles is in this. So just to let you know. So I don't actually know Knuckles from the games, which is a rather unusual thing, I suppose, because many people will have at least played one Sonic game that includes Knuckles. So, but I really liked the very first one. I thought it was a good example of a very fun video game. You know, it doesn't take itself too serious, and especially not the material that it's based on, so it didn't try to be too gamey or something like that. It didn't try to do just in jokes and all these kind of things. I feel that's where these kind of video game adaptations, they just sort of fall off, when they just try to be too specific and to be just for the crowd that initially liked the games, you know. So anyway, we're here with the second one. It came out last year. I didn't unfortunately manage to see it in cinemas, was just too busy at the time if I remember correctly. But I knew, of course, that I was going to buy it on Blu-ray because I enjoyed the first one so much, and I heard a lot of good things about the second one. And I'll be honest, I was quite intrigued coming back to Knuckles to see Idris Elba in this role. I mean, well, I suppose hear him, because obviously Knuckles is an animated character. Anyway, let's jump into the story. What is the plot of the first one? Now, I will assume that you have seen the first one. If not, the very brief version of the story I can give you is that Sonic he came to Earth. He was sent away by his, I'll call it surrogate mother, I suppose you could say. And he was sort of a stowaway. He was trying to just keep to himself, you know, keep safe. And that wasn't possible because we had the legendary Dr. Robotnik, who was trying to gain Sonic's power. As you can imagine, or if you've seen the film, you will know, he managed to beat him in the end. And it's actually very important. There's at the very end, we see that Dr. Robotnik, he ends up on a planet that is full of mushrooms, and we left him off with his iconic look with the huge mustache that just goes horizontal, and the bald head, etc. And this is actually where the second film starts off. So we see Robotnik on this planet and how he tries to find a way off it, and he's it's quite funny. His only nutrition is of mushrooms. That's his diet, of mushrooms. It's quite a funny bit. Anyway, so as you can imagine, he finds a way off the planet. In this case, he joins forces with Knuckles, who is an echidna, who is this of this warrior race that wants to find the what's it? I forgot, the Chaos Emerald, the green Chaos Emerald, just like in the games. This green Chaos Emerald that will allow him to defeat all the foes that he has in the galaxy, basically. So the two of them team up. Sonic learns of this emerald that he wasn't aware of, and he obviously wants to stop them from doing that because he knows that Robotnik is up to no good. He isn't too sure about Knuckles himself, but because he's working with Robotnik, that obviously is not good news. So that is the basic story of it. That's what we see here. Sonic actually is joined by Tails. If you're not familiar, Tails is also a character from the games. It's this sort of fox character with these twin tails that he can use as a helicopter, which, you know, scientifically makes no sense, but it's from a game. So yeah, of course, we love watching that. And it does give some new aerial, you know, viewpoints and maneuvers when we're talking about fights in the film, etc. So yeah, I think Tails is an okay addition. Not great. We'll come to Tails a bit later. But so yeah, so Sonic is helped by Tails, and we of course have from the first film, James Marsden is back, the police character, the Donut Lord, if you remember him. He is sort of a bit sidelined in this one, so he's off to be a guest at a wedding. It's his wife's sister, is it? I believe. Yeah, I think so. I wasn't paying too much attention. Is it just a friend? Never mind. Anyway, so he's off. They're off, both of them, at this wedding. We do get some intersection with Sonic, etc., but mostly it's kind of kept separate. That is the main plot. It goes, I suppose you could say, in very predictable ways. It's not a very, you know, new, exciting plot, etc. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for just a fun Sonic tale, because let's be honest, in the games, it's not like there's too much plot either. Anyway, that's all I'll tell you about the plot. If you want to see how that unfolds, obviously you have to watch it in detail. Now we'll talk about things that are really good about this film. What I really enjoyed is, as with the first one, Jim Carrey as Robotnik. I think it's actually quite noteworthy that he has returned for this, because famously he never did a sequel after the first Ace Ventura film. I mean the second Ace Ventura film, of course, because we're talking about sequels. He never did another sequel after that, just because he hated the whole experience of making a sequel, etc. So it is quite cool that he has returned, especially because I really loved him in the first one. And he just proves here that he is the perfect pick, because now Robotnik is even more unhinged, you know, after the events of the first story and him being exiled on that planet, etc. So he's just gotten more unhinged. And Jim Carrey just, you know, he just goes with the flow. He just unleashes all his really weird energy, etc., and goes over the top. It's absolutely fitting. It's so much fun to watch him on screen. I really like that. I think, you know, he is probably even the best thing about this. I would kind of say he is the best thing about this. Not that the other things are bad, but he just stands out that much, and the design and everything, just absolutely love it. Yeah, we've got some character development for Sonic as well, because now, okay, he's got family and friends, you know, he's no longer on his own, but he kind of has to learn to be responsible. That's what this is about, because, you know, he's using his power, he's trying to help humanity. It doesn't go that well all the time. And this is all about him sort of growing up a bit. And that's also, I think that they achieved that quite well, because you've got Tails, who is kind of, I suppose, a fan of Sonic. That is how you could say how the two of them come together, or how Tails knows of Sonic. And Sonic kind of has this sort of leading function when it comes to Tails. So he's kind of a bit trying to become a bit of a leader figure, which is quite cool. So yeah, I feel that they achieved that with the growing up part of it. Is quite cool. I like Knuckles as well. At first I was a bit weirded out with Idris Elba's voice, because it's very strong and dominant in whatever scene he is. And Knuckles, I mean, while physically, yes, he is quite dominant with his huge fists that he punches with, etc. At the start of the film it came off as a bit weird, but as it goes on and you realise that Knuckles is these echidnas are these noble warriors, you know, it makes sense. It's kind of a bit like Thor, you know, coming in with this weird language. It seems a bit strange at first, but then you realise, okay, no, that's just how they are. You know, as people, they're, like I say, very noble, and everything is done with honour, and that is exactly how Idris Elba just conveys, you know, the voice and this character, how he portrays it. And I feel, you know, by the end of it, I was like, no, I'm very much on board. I think that he's done a good job with Knuckles here, because he's supposed to be weird. You know, it wouldn't make sense for him to be this manic, energy-filled furball that Sonic is, who is basically still a kid. You know, Knuckles isn't that. And I feel that's also quite good. It gives them a bit of a contrast here between them and scenes that they've got. So I quite like that. Tails, I feel, didn't do too much for the whole story. I mean, yes, like I say, it's quite cool with the flying around. That is useful in some scenes. But then you've got a part of the film where Tails' only function is to be knocked out, you know, knocked unconscious for quite a long time, a dangerously worrying amount of time, because I'm like, shouldn't you consult a doctor and find out if he's still okay? Because everyone's like, no, he's just unconscious. They're trying to wake him up, but that's all they do. I'm like, get a doctor, maybe. No, but other than that, a likeable character, so it's fine. He's sort of gadgets. He's got all sorts of gadgets, and they're used for fun in different ways. So between all these characters, I feel they've all got their own things to do and are interesting enough to the story. Just James Marsden's character, I feel like, again, he was a bit sidelined. He does appear, etc., but he just doesn't have a big important role to play, which I felt was a bit of a shame because I did enjoy the dynamic. Although I get that makes sense, because the stuff that happens in this film, it's a bit over the top, and it was quite easy to believe that a human would probably just die in any of these situations. So I get that, it kind of makes sense. So I'm assuming that they did that, you know, not to constantly have to come up with reasons how he can survive fights, etc. That again, it does make sense, because this film, I feel it is a bit more video gamey. So it's like they've taken the first one, which is a very, very standard, down-to-earth story, I would say. This time it really feels like you're going through levels in a video game, but it's done really, really well. So you actually don't notice. It's just more of something that I, you know, realised myself after the film was finished. I was like, wait a second, think of it. It's like, you know, these sections, they feel very much like a video game and the things that happen in them, etc. That's really cool, but it's not too gamey, and the jokes are still not, you know, too specific. You have some things that pop up from the games, which is cool, because we've got Sonic and water, for instance, and water levels are something very, very specific to the games as well. The jokes are still very, very much of the time and trying to be sort of from pop culture. One single joke really didn't land well with me. It was a very weird reference to Limp Bizkit, and Dr. Robotnik makes this kind of joke where he says, you know, I need this as much as a backstage pass for Limp Bizkit, which I felt it's a very, very specific, weird joke, because I don't know, it felt like not that I'm a big fan of Limp Bizkit, on the contrary, but I felt like it's really weird to make this dig at them. I don't know. But otherwise, the humour is fine. It's very enjoyable. Some funny moments, some cute moments. You know, obviously the story is still very much aimed at children, not too young children, but still to children. And I feel, yeah, it's just an overall still very fun film. I suppose I do kind of enjoy the first one more, just when it comes to the overall story, etc. It just felt a bit more, well, maybe not unique, but it was a bit more heartfelt, I suppose you could say. And this one, okay, this, you know, it's a sequel, so we're jumping into a lot of just more fun aspects of it, which is fine. Like I say, we do have the sort of story with Sonic being responsible, so it is still an overall good package. I believe a third one is already in the works, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing it, because I really do enjoy this this franchise, these films. I think they're great, showing that video game adaptations, if they're just focused on being fun, they're a great time. You know, a great time. Don't get bogged into down in technicalities, or, like I say, in jokes within the games too much. Add some, of course, you want to, but it should not be just for the fans of the games. And they do a really good job here. So if you're looking for a fun film to watch with the family, etc., I say definitely check this out. Although you should watch the first one, you know, because it does build on a lot from the first film. I would say that. Okay, that will be all from me today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. It is the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below, comparisons of this film with the first one, comparisons to other video game films. Obviously, you know, to the games, you feel that they've done things well or not well, you know, implemented things badly in these films. What do you want to see? If you know the whole franchise, because I mean there are a lot of games in them, what are you expecting in the future? I mean, obviously we had a little tease at the end of this one as well, so that's obviously coming if they do get around to releasing the third one, which I believe is already a done deal. Anyway, any and all of that down in the comments below. I'll thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one on Flying Wiener. Take care.